Fine. Good morning, everyone. And today we are here to understand, this is the next workshop, which is to enrich and give you all more knowledge about how you can conduct a lesson and how you can take it forward and make it as interesting as possible. Today we have Dr. Meera Krishnappa with us, who is an very educated educationist actually. So she has got experience, tons of experience and so many years of experience that she is going to use that experience to help us to understand how a lesson can be presented. So before I go ahead, I'd like to introduce Dr. Meera to you. Dr. Meera Krishnappa has taught in schools for 37 to 38 years. She joined in as a teacher and then went on to be a teacher at a teacher training institute. So a college. So you can imagine the path or the journey that she has taken. And she has taught the CBSE and the IGCSE curriculum in international schools. And from there, she moved on to the corporate world, where she did soft skills training. After a sabbatical of 4 years, she completed a PhD, and I just got to know she completed her PhD at the age of 60, which is so inspirational. And I think she comes with such rich experience. And she went on to become the principal of 2 degree colleges in Bangalore. Presently, she is freelancing as an education consultant. So we have Dr. Krishnappa here, Dr. Meera Krishnappa here to help us to understand and really look at how a lesson can be presented in different ways and how it can be made as interesting as possible for the candidate and as engaging as possible for the candidate. So today what we are going to do is, as Meera ma'am takes level 4 sessions, and she also has an experience of taking these sessions with an AASHA candidate. So she will also bring that experience into it so that you all can relate to the whole thing much better, because she will also be able to understand and know the challenges that you all face while teaching a lesson on the phone or on Zoom and not on a offline platform. So we have actually taken a sample lesson from level 4, and we'll be going through that lesson, and then I'll be asking a lot of questions to Meera ma'am, and Meera ma'am will be answering them, and we'll engage in a conversation wherein you will learn a lot about how the whole lesson can be conducted. Right? So, ma'am, shall we start? Is it, shall I? Welcome. And I'm just wanting to ask you, which is the lesson that you are going to select in level 4?
The lesson that we have selected is the Riddle of the Sphinx. It's in level 4. Okay.
Okay.
This is the lesson that I had, I did many of the lessons, but I have done this lesson, and I've selected this particular lesson because it opens out a whole lot of possibilities.
Oh, wonderful. So, ma'am, would you want me to just share the screen so that we can go through the lesson and show everybody the lesson? Yeah, I'm just putting the lesson. I'm just going. Yeah. So I'm just going to increase the font size here so that everybody can read. This is a lesson, the Riddle of the Sphinx. And ma'am, would everybody, should I read aloud, or I think we'll let everybody read, give everybody a few minutes to read the lesson to get an understanding? Yeah?
Sure.
So everybody can read the lesson, and so that later on, as we ask questions, you'll be able to relate to what ma'am is trying to talk about.
Read it, Hema. You read.
I read it aloud? Okay, great. Yes. Okay, thanks, Meera. The Riddle of the Sphinx. A long time ago, there lived a very fearful creature called the Sphinx. She had the head of a woman, the body of a lion, and the wings of a big bird. Her eyes were so fearful that nobody could look at her face. The Sphinx sat just outside the city of Thebes. When a man went by, she would ask him a riddle. The man had to give the right answer. or the Sphinx would eat him up. The riddle was so difficult that no one could answer it. Many men lost their lives. The people who were so afraid of the Sphinx that they did not come out of their homes. Then one day, a man came along. He wanted to answer the Sphinx. He was very clever and brave too. His name was Oedipus. The Sphinx stopped him and asked him her riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, on 2 legs at noon, and on 3 legs in the evening? Ha, that's so easy, said Oedipus. Even a child can answer it. You try and answer it, shouted the Sphinx. The answer is man, said Oedipus. As a child goes about on all fours, as a man, he walks on 2 legs. As an old man, he walks with the help of a stick. That was the right answer. The Sphinx was very angry. She was so angry that she jumped off a mountain and died. The people of Thebes were so thankful that they made Oedipus their king. So that's the story of the riddle of the Sphinx. So, yeah. So, ma'am, first and foremost, when we are looking at this lesson, what is it that we are going to look at? First of all, this is the lesson that we have to teach. So, what is it that we are going to look at? What would you suggest, ma'am?
The first thing that we always look at, as I've always said, is the objectives. Okay, the lesson objectives. So your first objective is reading. So you will help the child to make the child read it. Wherever the child stumbles over a word or something, you help the child and ask the child to reread it. So reading. Second is understanding, of course. Remembering whatever he or she has read. These are the 3, basic objectives. Now, since this is level 4, we go on to a little bit of a more details where the child can analyze, can apply, can actually evaluate. Now, when I say analyze, evaluate, and apply, I'm not talking about some rocket science. It's very simple. Like, for example, we are talking, this is about the very title of the lesson is the riddle of the Sphinx. What is a riddle? So the child should be able to answer what is a riddle. And through the story, you can make out a riddle is a kind of a puzzled question where somebody has to think, analyze, and answer. Now, the Sphinx has asked him what can walk on 2 legs in the morning, 3 legs in the afternoon. I mean, 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the night. So here, Oedipus was able to analyze it and give the answer that it is man. So here you ask the child to say, have you heard of any riddles like this?
Yeah. Yes.
So riddles.
So,
yeah.
So one question, ma'am. This, is it going to be the objective? Is going to be after the lesson, have you achieved that objective, isn't it?
Yes.
Not before.
Correct.
So as a teacher, we have to keep that as the end product in mind and work backwards.
Just keep that in mind that, okay, this child is at this level. So I have to, by the end of this lesson, I may take 2 sessions, 1 session, 3 sessions, whatever it is it takes. But at the end of it, I would have achieved A, B, C, D.
Yeah. Yes. And also, ma'am, this level objectives, when we give them, it is for the whole level. So does every lesson have to adhere to all the objectives of the level, or it can be taken? Some of them can be taken, and some of them will be in some lesson and some in the other lesson. So, but by the end of the level, the whole thing, how is it, ma'am?
See, it is a flexible thing. We are not putting down some hard and fast rules saying you have to follow this pattern, you have to do this. I may do a lesson in a particular manner. The same lesson, if it is tackled by you, Hema, you might do it in a different manner. See, each one's thinking is different. I believe that all of us have our own unique styles of delivering something. Even when we are in conversation with someone, my style of talking, like my daughter is always telling me, Mommy, you have such a vociferous style of speaking. She's more reserved. So there are different styles. So it's okay. And just like we have different style, our children also, please remember that our children have different styles of learning. Some are audio learners, some are visual learners, some are learners who like to draw, like my
while learning.
I actually made her draw out the Sphinx, and then what I did was I also connected, and here I would like to tell Meera Raman, that I connected after doing this lesson, I connected with Pratham. There's a lesson there which is called Monumental Maths that talks about the building of pyramids. So she even drew the pyramids for me. So it's easy, So here the child is also examining the concept of what is a pyramid, what is a sphinx.
So, ma'am, this is fantastic that you have brought in how Pratham can be connected and how, mathematics, or, how to widen the mind of the child, and also to tap into the learning style of the child so that you can develop. So each one of us will have a different kind of a student who will have a different style of learning. So how are we as teachers going to look for content and which will match, and how are we going to go through the lesson? So what are the steps that a volunteer needs to take while going through the first part? If suppose this lesson is given to you, ma'am, first thing, what would you do? First, you said you will take the objectives in mind, and then what are the planning in your mind that you'll do, keeping the child's learning style in mind? What are the things that you would go as next step, and how will you do? Would you do the reading first, or would you get the child to draw first? Like you rightly said that you asked your child to draw first, and this. So after reading the lesson, or before reading the lesson? So how are we going to plan it?
No, the reading is always the first, the prime objective, reading. Because the AASHA program focuses on reading. So your first prime objective is reading. So make the child read, see whether the child is reading okay. Like in this particular lesson, you will see there are words like Oedipus, Sphinx. Like my child had, a problem with pronouncing the word Sphinx, pronouncing the city of Thebes, pronouncing the, certain particular words. So she has this habit of saying, asked, or, she's the udder. So just as she's reading, then I'll stop her and I'll make her repeat the sentence, so that then I make her repeat that paragraph if required, or that sentence if required. And then after she has finished reading, I asked her, what did you understand from this lesson? Then she tells me in her own words. It's comprehension, second.
Exactly. Okay. So the pronunciation part of it, you're doing it along with the reading as she reads.
Absolutely. And as sometimes I also explain the meaning. For example, like when we came across the word riddle in the title itself, I asked her, do you know the meaning of riddle? Now she knew the meaning. My student knew the meaning. Hello.
Yes. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
She was able to tell me what is a riddle. Otherwise, you can give examples of riddles.
Yeah.
Like
you have to give them a simple riddle, something,
simple
question
riddle.
and answer.
Yes. What is it? See, we ask what is like something. There are children are always playing these games with riddles in school. So explain the word, or when I say fearful, I started asking after she had finished reading the lesson. This is after she had finished reading the lesson, after she had answered my simple questions, I didn't go to the exercises. I asked her, give me another 3 words for fearful. So what was happening there?
So they are trying to connect.
Correct. So she said terrible. She said horrible. I said, okay, anything else? Then she only came up with scary. I said, that is great. So fearful, scary, okay, terrible also can be accepted, horrible also can be accepted, but the nearest is scary.
Correct.
So certain words,
So the process is like when you're going through that, then you're also connecting to the synonyms and other words that have the same
Or
meaning, kind of a thing.
I may do antonyms, and then I go to the exercises that are given at the
Okay.
end of the lesson, which are fairly simple, especially for this. My student, she just does it in a jiffy. She gives me the answers. So then I say, now I have to challenge this child a little more. So
Correct.
I think every teacher has to understand her student and find out whether the child is grappling still with concepts or is able to take something more.
Yeah. So the extra things will be added on only if the basics have been done. So like you rightly said, ma'am, our focus is on reading first.
Yes.
Reading and understanding. So like you said, the first step was keeping objectives in mind, looking at what the child can be taught. So how the reading process, going through the reading process while reading, you said that they have to go through the pronunciation, and after pronunciation and reading, you ask them simple questions that talked about how much understanding they had of the first understanding of the lesson before going into more details. So how have they understood what they have read? So that was a not a formal comprehension, but a comprehension where you kept asking so that you also understand where the child has read or understood, or do we need to read again and go back again to the lesson to discuss more. So for it is an understanding for you as well as the child as to how much they have understood the particular lesson. And then you said next step was going into the words, the vocabulary words. So ma'am, at this level, because they're in level 4, so do you also go into the language part of it, the nuances of English language, like, the way of presenting the words, like, using similes, idioms. So there are so many beautiful ways of expressing in the language. So do you go to that?
Yes. Now, if a lesson lends itself, if there have been similes used, like in another lesson which I had taught Ananya, there were many similes used. So there I did focus. Now, in this particular lesson, there's not much on similes or personification, excepting to say that it describes the Sphinx as having the body. So then there I asked her, do we have anything similar in our Indian mythology, which has a body of something and a head of something and a tail of something else? And then she immediately came up with the symbol of Karnataka, which is, I think, Meera Raman and those who are from Bangalore will associate the Ganda Berunda. So, I mean, again, it all depends on the level of the child. I can do many things, but then I have to gauge where do I go, where do I pull myself back, and where do I not threaten the child, so to speak, or
not scare the child.
Overwhelm the child. So then silently I do the exercises, and once the exercises are over, I said, before I started, there's one more thing that I did with Ananya, which I must share with everyone, is the story is set in Egypt, right?
Yes.
So I asked her the basic question, where is Egypt? Now, she didn't know. So I said, okay, do you have an atlas? She said, no. I said, okay, do a Google. And they're all familiar with Google. Okay. This girl is very quick. I said, find out where is Egypt. So she found out and she told me it's in Africa. I said, yes. Tell me, is there a river anywhere there? So she said, yes, River Nile. Then I told her, the Egyptian civilization is as old as our Indian Indus Valley civilization. Did you know that? And we traded with them. And so I gave her a little bit, because I am again another history buff. So thoda about I do a little bit of digression also. But
I think that is very important, no ma'am, to find out, to understand where the whole story is located, what is the culture behind it. So I think reading emphasis and understanding emphasis all that also, right? Yes, Rupa?
Ma'am, this Zoom meeting is allowing only 40-minute time. There is a time limit of 40 minutes. So we may have to upgrade. I'm just letting you know that we have crossed 30 minutes. We have
Okay.
Okay, let me see.
So I
It is
think, but
allowing
are
me to
we are
upgrade.
continuing right after that. So what we have to do is everybody has to log out and log in again.
Yeah.
So
Let me
at
see
that
if I
time,
have asked to
so,
upgrade. It asked, do you
no,
want
it
to
will take
upgrade?
time, Rupa. Rupa,
Great.
I don't know whether it will upgrade so immediately.
Okay.
So it might take time.
Okay.
But if it happens, we can come back onto this link again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, ma'am, and coming back to what we were talking like about the figures of speech, like here we were saying that in this particular lesson, yeah, we are talking about the geographical location and how important it is for us to understand the reading and the to understand where you are. Like, if you say it's near a river side, the location is very important for the child to. Reading is connected to imagination. So why reading is so important? Reading takes you into the imaginary world. You make pictures in your mind when you read, as you read, isn't it? So I think for that, the location that you gave and you presented where exactly it is and where you stand and where is that place that the story happened is so important. And also about the river and why the river Nile was so important there and here. That is a thing, and how it gives a general picture for the child that it is not the same environment, but it is a different environment over there. So that is something is a very crucial thing for helping reading, because it's a very important one. Though it is not only history, it also gives the child a location to imagine.
A background kind of a thing. So
yes,
that's
very interesting.
Because we had finished with the exercises after that, I gave her some words from the text and I asked her to make sentences with them. And then after that, in my next session, I went into monumental maths from Pratham.
Okay, wonderful. Ma'am, this which you told about you making sentences or drawing something, and so this is all basically going into the analyzing and applying of things of the whole thing. So the words that we use: analyze, apply, evaluate. So evaluate would be maybe I don't know, is that a possibility that we can ask the child to create their own monster by mixing up things? So that will
one
again
thing,
be
or ask them to come up with other riddles,
other riddles. Yeah.
For example, you yourself, when we were talking, you said about Vikram and Betal.
Yes. Yeah.
The Betal every time asked a riddle and he said, if you can't answer it, I will kill you. Or I'll fly off,
Yeah.
So every time Vikramaditya was able to answer the riddle, and so Betal used to get so angry and fly off.
Very similar, ma'am, because Betal again said that if you don't answer and you know the answer, you don't answer, I'll kill you. And if you answer, then he will fly off. So it was a trick that he was playing. And I think Sphinx was also something similar. So it's such a parallel story.
Yes, a parallel story. So like that, you can bring in the an analogy there. And when I did monumental maths, I told her, now today I'm doing another story with you. And I had forwarded the entire text to her. And I told her, this is also about Egypt. This is not about Sphinx, it's about other structures. And then she read that. She read the...
Oh, wonderful.
She read that whole thing. There also, wherever she stumbled on certain words like Pharaoh. I said, call our kings as Rajas, Maharajas, or Jahapana and all that. But they used to call them pharaohs.
Yes.
Why did the pharaohs want that fantastic building, tombs of that kind? And and there is a line in that story which says, when they thought if they want to build a pyramid, it should be at least about 6 giraffes high.
6 giraffes high.
So 6 giraffes high. How to make, they thought, and finally they came up with that mathematical formula of it is a squared h by 3. And they said square base and triangular sides. So the kind of mathematical formula that was used.
The base is square and then it goes up as a triangle. Yes.
How they managed to get those stone blocks up and all that. So I was telling her, she lives in Udupi. I said, do you know of any structure in near Udupi which has got beautiful architecture? So she came up with some names. She said, there are, we have this Jain basadis there. She talked about that. She said, I said, it's very good. So everywhere mathematics is involved. Do you know that? So the connection, and
the
then
connection
that,
and the interest.
yeah. So after all that, she drew the pyramids and the thing and all that. And that's how, the connections happened. And I was very impressed with the Pratham content because it goes into 2-3 directions. It doesn't talk only about one story concept, but it brings in other subjects also. That
So in the
it's
STEM,
also connected with our Indian architecture. Temples of
the STEM
Halebi.
stories.
Yes.
Okay. Like the STEM
No,
stories.
all
Like
our temples also used mathematical concepts.
Concepts.
You
Okay.
know,
Beautiful.
to build
Beautiful.
pillars, to build domes, to build like, for example, if I don't know if you've ever visited Somnath, it is called the Someshwara temple. It's near Halebeedu. It has got a hexagonal platform on which the temple is based.
Built. Okay.
Dakshina part.
Okay.
So
I think, ma'am, I think this is going to get cut. So Rupa will ask everybody to join back again, and the same link they can join back. And one more thing is, like, I will also check out if that Pratham content, this particular story, if we can see that and how we can connect it. We will talk about that as soon as we come back. Yeah. Okay. So should we leave and come back, Rupa? Otherwise, mid-sentence, it might just cut us off.
Yes.
Right? I
exactly.
think it doesn't make sense to leave and come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
We leave and
Yes.
come back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All of
Thank
us will
you.
leave and come back.
Thank
Thank you.
Close the meeting, Rupa. If you close the meeting, nobody has to leave.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.